Hey everyone, I finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Three Strikes. I saw the title and I was a little worried, because, that sure sounds like a sports thing, and I don't care for sports. Whenever there's a sports episode of a show, or a comic, or a book, or something that deals with sports in some way, I'm kind of lost. I don't know what's going on because I don't know sports. I don't care about sports. Like, I know some things with baseball, but not a whole lot. So I was really happy to find out that baseball is more just the backdrop of this episode. It's not a driving force in the plot or anything. The characters aren't like super in. There is like a thing at the end where there's suddenly like a string of weird baseball puns or sports puns in general, and I'm like, okay, what? It kind of reminds me of back in, was it Zeo or Turbo? I think it was Zeo. They're like in these little go-karts, and they're making baseball puns because the rest of the episode, there was this whole thing about baseball or something that was really important, and they kept making baseball puns, but the scene had nothing to do with baseball. They were in little go-karts. Like, the writers are so like forcefully trying to spin it like, yes, this is actually about baseball. It's not about go-karts. It's definitely not about go-karts. It's about baseball. So fortunately, they don't do anything like that here. It starts off, JB is coaching a little league baseball team, and let's see, they're practicing for an upcoming fundraiser to save the park. They have this one kid, Sean Matsumoto, who's the star player. He's really popular. If he plays in the game, they'll definitely make enough money in the fundraiser to save the park. And Ryan is like, man, who would want to take a park away from kids? And so then, of course, we cut to it's Carl Zichter. Of course it is. I don't think it was intended to be funny, but it kind of is, because, like, it's just so strange at this point. The troopers are still completely oblivious to who Carl Zichter is. I'm not sure when exactly they figure it out that he's Grimlord. It's such a weird thing that does not need to be kept secret. But they do anyway. Whatever. Grimlord has a new plan. He wants to kidnap Sean Matsumoto, the league star player, and, let's see, if he's kidnapped, then people won't come to the game, because that one kid is all that matters, I guess. Oh, and also he wants to bulldoze the park to put in a power plant. It's not for any virtual reality related reason. It's not because there's a reality barrier there or anything. He just wants to be a jerk. Is he a video game executive? So anyway, let's see. Sean is being interviewed at Caitlin's newspaper, and Woody's all excited, and he's handing out hot dogs in the way of a concession person from a baseball game. Okay. Oh, and then Percy sees that this kid is getting a lot of attention, and this is actually kind of established, because a few episodes ago, he was kind of offended by a little kid getting more attention than him. So this is kind of an established insecurity, so that's kind of clever. His role is still really stupid. His, way to deal with this is to take the baseball bat and talk about, I was the captain of my high school team, and then he swings it around like a caveman for some reason. And then he slips, falls over, and it's supposed to be funny. Laugh, laugh. I don't get sports, and I don't get this. Like, if he had done something, like, negative before this, I think it would have... That's the biggest problem. So many of these VR Trooper episodes are just going to be me complaining about Percy. And how they don't really seem to know how to write a character like him. He is slowly getting handled better than he was before in previous episodes. Like here, like at least he did kind of antagonize a little kid. But like I said, it's an established insecurity of his that he has some kind of superiority complex, especially with kids. He can't seem to process kids being better at him than something, and he feels the need to, like, exert some kind of, like, I'm better than you superiority at the kid who really does not care. Very strange. I don't understand I'm probably looking far deeper into this than they planned, because the writers probably, like, I don't know, Saban gave them a checklist, like, we need a fight scene, we need Grimlord yelling at the minions, we need Hart, we need Jeb doing something funny, we need Percy to do something dumb and hurt himself. And the writers were like, okay, just do whatever is going on in the episode. Baseball, okay, he swings a baseball bat around and whacks himself in the face with it or something. So anyway, back to the actual story. The troopers are at this baseball game with the kids practicing, and then a bunch of Skugs show up to kidnap the kids. The troopers evacuate the kids and take out the Skugs, and then the troopers go to Hart's lab to come up with a plan. The Skugs were focused around Sean Matsumoto, so they decide to go stake out his house. And we get a pretty cool scene of the troopers outside the house. It's at night, and it's pretty cool to see a scene at night, and also a very different location than what what we usually see them at. Let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing. Before they actually go to do the stakeout, Hart gives them these new devices, little pocket-sized screens they can use to stay in contact. I can't remember what they were called. The VR transmitters, or something like that? I don't remember what exactly they were called. The interesting thing with these is they're kind of color-coded to the troopers. JB and Caitlin's are based off of Caitlin's outfit. They're red and white. Ryan's is red and blue, like his Metalder outfit. And the funny thing is, I think Ryan keeps his same red and blue transmitter on into next season, when his suit is mostly blue. Huh. I'm trying to remember now. I'm pretty sure he sticks with, like, the same transmitter. It doesn't change color or anything. So anyway, back to this thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a weird thing in this episode, and this is another thing. In the past few episodes, they seem to have been doubling down on Grimlord and, like, the rules of VR Troopers. The monsters that Grimlord is sending to try and kidnap Sean again are searching for a break in the reality barrier. No longer can they just go in. Back in the first batch of episodes, the rules seemed to be that Grimlord was limited in how many monsters he could send through the reality barrier. Like, he has a few that can go out and do specialized things, but when he wants to send, like, a big bad out, he can only send, like, a few at a time. With this, they're really trying to hammer in the rule that there's a barrier between realities, and they have to find a break to get to our world from their world. It's really interesting, and it's something I kind of wish they had tried harder to establish earlier on. Maybe more focus could have gone to that than giving Percy dumb stuff to do. Whatever, back to the thing. Okay, so Ryan is out in front of Sean's house. He hears the monsters, and they capture Sean. He tries to chase them down on his vector cycle, but they get away. And then later, Caitlin works with a newspaper to get information out on Sean, not that that matters to the plot. Hart gathers the troopers and alerts them that he found where in virtual reality Grimlord has Sean. So then the troopers transform and head out to rescue him. Ryan goes down to save Sean, while JB and Caitlin hold off the air assault because separate footage. But, really interesting thing here, let's see, Ryan is getting beaten up by one of the monsters. It's looking really bad for him. He calls for help, and then JB goes down to help him and fires his laser at the monster, and a laser hits the monster. That's a pretty cool scene, and it was such a creative and just really clever way to combine the footage and really make it feel like all of this was connected. It's something a lot of older VR Trooper episodes don't really try to do. There's lots of times where they could very easily just splice in a shot of JB or Caitlin off screen, then cut to the American suits all together to try and sell the idea that all three of them are in the same show. But so often they just don't. So it's really cool that it happens here, and happens really, like, in a way that fits perfectly with the episode. The one weird thing, though, is, let's see, JB runs along this cliff edge while Ryan is talking, or Ryan runs and you hear JB's voice. So, I don't know, maybe that's why they didn't try to do this more often, is the editors got confused about who was who, maybe? Whatever. Okay, so then they destroy the monsters, they save Sean, and then later at the baseball game, Sean wins the game for his team. The end. Cool. Oh, and also Grimlord just gives up because... Oh, and actually, this, again, is something else they're, like, trying to establish a little better than what was going on earlier in the series. Grimlord has a habit of just giving up. Like, well, that failed, I can never, ever do that again. But now, like, it actually does kind of make sense. If he has a hard time finding where the break between realities are, then yeah, he can't just keep sending monsters through. Oh, actually, you know what? If he really wanted to buy the park, what he should have done is, like, send some monsters with bombs, set the bombs around the park, just blow up the whole park, and then, as Carl Zichter, he can come in and be like, hey, you don't want this, like, crater as a park, do you? It'll cost you a lot of money to, like, build it back into a park. Meanwhile, I can give you a ton of money, and you can sell the land to me, and I'll put a power plant here. Seems a lot easier than the kidnapping plot. Actually, he probably could have sent monsters to kill Sean, but kids show can't kill the little kid. Also, I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to go that far. Like, he's an evil businessman, but killing kids might be slightly too extreme for him. So anyway, it's a really good episode, well put together, huge step up from before, and Grimlord's plot actually makes sense. Although, like I said, he could have probably handled it a little better. The only really weak thing in the episode is Percy, because he's the designated stupid comedy character who has to do something stupid to keep the attention of kids, or something. Or maybe Percy was, like, made to keep the attention of Haim Saban or something, knowing what we know now. Because Simon Bennett on Twitter has been really open about the seasons of Power Rangers he's been involved with, and back in Ninja Steel, apparently there was a mandate that every episode had to have a scene with Victor Armonti. They had to play, like, major parts in the episodes. And I don't know why this is a thing. It's so bizarre to me. Like, Power Rangers. The focus is not slapstick comedy. The focus should be on the superheroes. Maybe the idea was that, well, superheroes are a big thing now. Power Rangers needs to do something to stand out from them. But I don't think the really annoying comedy is what does it. And it's, like, it wasn't good now. Like, back when VR Troopers was a thing, when early Mighty Morphin was a thing, Bulk and Skull early on in Power Rangers, if they had phased them out after, like, season 1, like, they wouldn't stand out as, like, beloved characters. It's that they stuck around, they evolved, they got to be better characters. Also, a strength that they had in Power Rangers, Bulk and Skull worked because they fit the scenes. They fit the tone of the show. Early on, they're bullies. It's set in a high school. It makes sense that there would be these goofy bullies there. The second season had them shift into less of a bully role and more of just goofball weirdos. Then the third season, they're police officers. Zeo, they're detectives. Turbo, they're monkeys for some reason, or chimps. And then they just kind of stopped using them very much after that. In Space, tried to make them scientists. They didn't really show up a whole lot in Space, though. Then Lost Galaxy, they were pretty much phased out altogether, and only showed up here and there in cameos since then. And then Bulk showed up in Samurai with Skull's son, Spike. They were handled okay in there. Like, a positive I can give those appearances were, well, early on, they were pretty separate from everything going on, and that was annoying, but later on, they did work them in clever ways. Like the one where Antonio drops his morpher, they find it, and they think it's just a phone, so they're going around trying to find, oh, hey, is this your phone? And they're like, let's see, it rings, and they are like, oh, it's ringing, we should take it to wherever the person calling is. There's like an address, so then they go down, and they run right into a ranger battle, and the rangers are like, whoa, what are they doing here? And then at the end, when it's all revealed, oh, okay, Antonio gets the phone back, and he's like, whoa, it was like 100 messages or something. Makes sense. It works. It fits the episode, and it's good. I mean, kind of. Percy here is just kind of does whatever. Like, I get that he was supposed to be like a photographer for the newspaper or a journalist of some sort, but that's almost always swept aside just to have him do something stupid. moving on from that nonsense. One thing I really liked here was incorporating JB into Ryan's fight scene. The Metalder footage has, let's see, this little ball of light comes over and hits one of the bad guys. So what they did was they have JB come down, he fires his weapon, and then what his weapon fires is that little ball of light. It doesn't work very... I think they probably could have, blown the budget and animated a line here to actually make it look like he was firing it. I think they could have done stuff like that a lot more. But for what it is, it works really well, and it's definitely a sign that they are trying a bit harder in these later episodes, so that's cool. Oh yeah, and the way Sean is spliced in with the Japanese footage is handled pretty well. It's very similar to how Power Rangers would usually do, like if there's a little Japanese kid in danger or something, they'll use the far shots, and then up close they'll use a kid dressed similarly to the kid in the Sentai footage. So, good job there, that works. Oh, and also, JB, the American JB suit, the Spielbahn suit that he has, can actually move now. In the past, there's been a few times where we've seen that American suit that JB has, and it does not move very well. One of the ones that stands out, Caitlin is tied up, there's a bomb about to go off, and they gotta fight off these monsters. Ryan runs, JB just kind of slowly saunters off to the side, and you can tell, like, whoever was shooting it knew that whoever was playing JB in the suit couldn't really move, so he has the camera slightly, like, more focused on Ryan moving, so you won't notice JB just kind of walking. So anyway, decent episode, a lot of improvements, hope they continue. Good episode, recommend it. That's all for this one, see ya.